Good evening. Our big story tonight, a government shutdown looming on the horizon.
The clock ticking down to the deadline 4 days from now, midnight Friday. And at the heart of the dispute, money to build a U.S.-Mexico border wall.
So if the government does shut down, how would it affect all of us here in Arizona? Team 12's Bram Resnick is verifying it for us tonight. Bram?
Yeah, this would be a partial government shutdown affecting workers at some agencies, but not others. But two of those agencies affected really matter in Arizona: Homeland Security and the National Park Service. We verified that workers who protect our border wouldn't get paychecks at Christmas. And Arizona might write a check to keep the Grand Canyon open. President Trump's threat: he'll shut down the government if he doesn't get his border wall.
I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck.
We verified the irony in that threat. The agency responsible for border security would be shut down, but the border wouldn't be abandoned. The Department of Homeland Security's airport screeners, Border Patrol agents, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents would still be on the job. They're considered essential DHS employees. They just wouldn't get paid till a shutdown ended. During recent shutdowns, Arizona governors have paid the feds to keep the Grand Canyon open.
Arizona should not have to pay the federal government's tab here. It's their responsibility.
5 years ago, then Governor Jan Brewer did pick up the tab. She cut a check for $650,000 to help keep Arizona's largest tourist attraction afloat during a 16-day shutdown. The feds never paid Arizona back. Last year, Governor Doug Ducey followed Brewer's lead during a 2-day shutdown. This tweet telling the world the Grand Canyon is open was made possible by a $190,000 check to the feds. A Ducey spokeswoman says this time Arizona got the money back. 1 month after that tweet, Ducey issued an executive order, the Grand Canyon Protection Plan. It creates a cash pipeline from Arizona to the Department of the Interior to keep the canyon open. We verified Grand Canyon National Park would remain open during a shutdown, but there would be few park services and most workers would be furloughed. A Ducey spokeswoman says the governor is, quote, ready to step in. One group of government employees who have nothing to worry about: members of Congress. They would continue to collect their paychecks during a shutdown. Let's send it back to you.
Okay, Bram, thanks. Well, if there is